Okay, friends, I'm going to use this mic. I believe we're streaming this as well. Is that correct? We're streaming this, so if you're watching online, thanks so much. Thank you for those who are attending. This is unusual in the sense of usually I'm calling you all in here, and you guys are here waiting for me. So good on you that came back in. Can you hear me okay? No, you cannot hear me okay. Is that better? All right. So I said it's good because normally I'm calling you all in here, and now I'm coming in late. So thank you all for your proactivity in attending this town hall. So let's open with a word of prayer. So Holy One, as we hold this church in our hearts and in our minds as we look ahead for the coming months, give us your assurance that you are with us. I ask that you give all of those in attendance a generous heart for volunteerism to cover for me while I'm away, and trust that all will be smooth. In Jesus' name, amen. So Ellen's going to come up here, I think, second or first. What do you want to do? All right, let's do me first, and then I'm off the hot seat. So, friends, as you can tell, I'm struggling with an illness, and also I have 3 weeks to get everything ready and prepared. So I'm rushing through things. So with that said, so far, I'm going to be gone starting Saturday, April 26th through Monday, August 18th. I will be back in the office on August the 19th. For the most part, we have committees and processes already established that things are going to be covered. So there's going to not be as much work needs to be done. I am basing this coming summer's experience based on the summer 2 years ago, whenever I was away as well for 3 months. Luckily, this time I don't have to deal with the loss of a parent. So hopefully it's a little bit different on my end. But on your all's end, it should be a relatively similar experience, which makes it mean it will be smooth and everyone will know what's going on to the best of my abilities. So worship has already been arranged for Pulpit Supply between now and August the 17th, the last Sunday prior to my coming back. So your participation, your leadership around worship is minimal in the sense of I'm about to hold a clipboard up. If you want to sign up to be the point person for worship, what that would mean is you would welcome the guest preacher that Sunday. Most of the guest preachers have already been here before. So we're going to welcome Margaret Trim. We're going to welcome Diane Hackett, I believe is her last name. And then we're going to welcome Ryan Tristan, who was here last Sunday. And Reverend Brian Burke is going to be here. Brian has agreed to be the pastoral charge supervisor. So if there is any official big church meeting, he'll be there. If there are any weddings and or funerals, I'm talking for him right now, but he will preside those if he is so graciously willing. Thank you. And so Brian is in my place doing all the clergy-related activities in my place. And so a big, sincere thank you to Brian for agreeing to do that. He did it 2 years ago, and it's very appreciated this year. So worship, again, greet the guest preacher, turn on the lights, or find someone to turn on the lights and that kind of stuff. The tech team knows what the tech team's doing. The music people know what the music people are doing. It's a very light work. The only thing that could come up is if Barry is unavailable, but even if that happens, MMP gets involved at that point. So the worship person really is just making sure that they're the point person that Sunday morning, just in case there's any questions. But like I said, everyone kind of operates and does their own thing anyway, so I trust that it'll be a smooth process. So what we're going to do is I just have one word for each sign-up sheet and a bunch of lines. If you are interested in serving as a worship host, coordinator kind of thing, but excuse me, like I said, you don't need to coordinate anything because it's all been coordinated prior to my leaving. Sign up on the sheet just in general, and then I'll be in touch with you to either do specific Sundays. We can do it by a weekly basis or we can do it a monthly basis. It just depends on your generosity and how much you want to do that. So that's the worship clipboard. We're not going to pass them around as much as I want to because it's germ season. So I'm going to put them on the piano and pray that you come up after this and sign your names to them. Hang on one second. The next one is, working backwards alphabetically, the next one is rentals. So with this one, what it means is you will be called upon if there's an emergency with a rental. So as many of you know, many people use our building throughout the week. You do not have to worry about payment of rent. You do not need to worry about leases. You do not need to worry about negotiations or anything like that. All you have to do is be the point person. So if someone arrives on scene and let's say there's damage done or they have questions about the facility for some reason, which they wouldn't because they are all long-term tenants, then you would be the point person for that. To my knowledge, at this time, there are no new rentals that will be happening in the next 3 months. So it's all pretty status quo as well. So that's the running theme, that no surprises this summer. We're going to keep it as simple as humanly possible. So the rental person would just be in case there's an emergency. You wouldn't have to necessarily handle the emergency. You would then just need to call people within the church and figure out what the problem is. And it depends on the problem. If it's a plumbing issue, then you need to call someone with building, and you'd be given all that information of who to contact in different situations. So you don't have to know everything. No pressure here. You just have to be the first call, and then you would have the directory where our rental groups do not have the entire church directory with all of our phone numbers and so forth. So that's the rental piece. The next one is, well, I'll do this one next. So the next one is building, which is related to the rentals. This one is just in case there's an emergency with the building. So 2-3 weeks ago, the toilet overflowed or whatever, exploded on us, and we had a water leak. I ran around with my head cut off, just whatever, and people took care of me. So many of you here. And so those are the type of things that you would do just as an emergency contact. So again, you can sign up on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. It's up to you and your willingness, but just write down your name if you're willing to be the building contact. You don't actually have to do anything with the building. You just have to be willing to be called and then go from there. Okay? And the last one is pastoral care. Same deal. So Brian is going to be around this summer, so you don't have to deal with pastoral care emergencies as far as you don't have to be a counselor, you don't have to be a therapist, you don't have to be a chaplain. You just have to be willing to make calls, check in on people. Kathy Richardson, or I shouldn't say names streaming, so Kathy R. and Trish S. Are also already involved. They do a lot more than just what I'm asking for this person, but this person would be the point person. So if there's a pastoral emergency, if they do need support, they would be contacting this person. And then this person would evaluate how serious it is. Some people just want people to know things and say prayers on Sunday morning. Several people, like when family members are in hospital and things like that, they just want prayers to be announced. So that pastoral care person would just contact the worship person to make sure it's announced and prayed for, that people are prayed for. Other people would need more serious things, and then Brian would be support for that as needed. And we all know one of Brian's strongest gifts is pastoral care, so I trust him in all that he does. So he can do no wrong in my book. So pastoral care is not you providing therapy or whatever, counseling. It's just you being that point person for however long. You can do it for a week, you can do it for a month, so however long you want to sign up. Kathy R. and Trish, for the most part, will be here throughout the summer, so this would be in addition to helping them. Okay? Are there any questions about any of these areas? Building, rentals, worship, pastoral care, and what? One more? I forgot. I'm sick. Okay, Ellen, talk to me.
I just wanted to know if the worship point person is opening and closing.
So Ellen asked, is the worship person who volunteers opening and closing the church? I think it depends on who signs up, but they would be responsible for making sure that the building has an opener and a closer. So if someone signs up who does not feel comfortable opening or closing the church, aka you don't have a key, an alarm code, all those things, then I would know that because we keep track of all that. And then I would give you a list of names of possible people to open up the church and close the church. And they would be responsible for calling and asking each other and that kind of thing. Okay? Yeah, Joanne.
What if there was someone approached the church during the summer and wanted to rent the space?
So all rental inquiries need to go through Pam. Pam is still working 5 hours a week during the summer. She will be here actually 2 days a week in July. So she'll be working on Wednesdays publicly. So from Wednesdays from, I believe it is 9 to 1, I believe. We'll confirm that as before I leave. And then she'll work a second day. The office will be closed, so you will not be welcomed here with love, because she'll be doing administrative work, like dealing with rentals, dealing with what she normally does. So for those of you who are in the know, been around for a while, Pam, our wonderful office person, from September to June, works 4 days a week, 5 hours a day. In July and August, we have increased her in the last few years to work 1 day a week. In July, because of the special circumstance and based on learnings from 2023, she's coming in 2 days a week. This does not have any negative financial consequences to us. So we love Pam extra hard. So she's coming in 2 times a week in July. So she'll be able to handle all that. And most rentals will give more than a week's notice in order to be approved. But she can proactively handle all rentals. So you're not involved in the agreeing to rentals, and she is great at finding people to open and close for rentals. So anything like that, Pam can handle in my absence. Ernie.
Just wondering, pardon me, about pulpit supply and the guest ministers and their process of letting Pam know what scriptures they want and that sort of thing. And my arranging for those scriptures, getting the copies of that, of the reading, etc., to those respective people. Is that all in Pam's hands?
Yes, that's all in Pam's hands. So Pam will continue. So the question Ernie asked, which is excellent. Ernie, by the way, if you don't know, arranges all of our scripture readers each week. And so a huge thank you and any special services. So Ernie's question revolved around how is the pulpit supply communicating the worship plans and the readings, and how is that those channels all working? So Pam will continue to be the central person. So in her summer hours, during her summertime, she will still receive the readings. She will then, the pulpit supply person usually does the prayer of illumination and the scripture introduction. She will write those all out, type those all out, and send them out to all the readers. So what Pam needs to know is who the readers are, and can carbon copy you, Ernie, if you wish. That's easy to do, just to make sure you're in the loop of making sure the reader has the assigned reading. But luckily, all of the pulpit supplies are way better planners than I am, and usually have gotten Pam all of the worship materials way in advance compared to Friday afternoon. Okay, which is a joke, friends. I don't give worship Friday afternoon, but yeah, they're all very better at it than I am. So, all right, yeah, Joanne.
So the presider.
Yes.
What other duties do they have? So the guest minister does their thing, but whatever they don't do, the presider does?
So I'm working that. Oh yeah. So a question from Joanne was about the role of a presider during worship service. Excellent question. So some ministers, and I'm going to pick on Brian. I'm assuming Brian is going to be able to do the whole service himself because he's fully qualified to do entire services in the world. If a pulpit supply person is not comfortable doing the whole service, I'll be arranging that ahead of time. The role of the presider is to do the welcome, to do the prayers, to light the candle, and to kind of lead the congregation throughout the service, everything outside of the sermon. But I can, because I know I'm leaving, I can go ahead and pre-write a lot of that. So the presider doesn't necessarily need to write those things. The presider just has to read what is provided to them. So it's pretty laid out. Yeah. And if you are interested in presiding, please sign up on the worship board and just write presider next to your name so I know that that's an option to call you if I need. Most of the pulpit supply folks are ordained ministers. We're very blessed in that way, truly. It's been difficult to find pulpit supply these last few years. And so luckily, these are all very highly qualified individuals to lead these services. I do try to incorporate more women voices because you hear a man talk all the time. So it's nice to, in my absence, to hear a diversity of people. So, and I will announce communion services will happen over the summer while I'm away. Reverend Brian Burke will oversee that and be doing communion once a month. So those services have already been designated, and so that's already been planned out as well. Like I said, as I reviewed 2023 files and the absence that I had then and looked at responsibilities, many of our processes are well established, and those would continue on in my absence. What Ellen does not want announced out loud is that if something does come up that does not fit into one of these categories, the council is responsible at the end of the day for everything. So not that you contact the chair necessarily. Any council person could be asked, but the council is the go-to in my absence for making decisions in my place. If it's an unusual, like I said, but I don't think as long as everyone's nice and friendly and patient, it should be a seamless summer. All right. Any other questions? How are you feeling about my absence? I know there's going to be a big party in the parking lot after Easter as I go out the front door and you guys are going out the back door. Any things? Is there anything I need to be aware of before I leave? Where am I going? That's private information, Colleen. I can't tell you where I'm going. What happens at the minister's house stays at the minister's house. So I don't live in a house. You're right. So I do plan on going to see my family. I am possibly going on a leisurely trip, but I'm not a big traveler, as many of you know. So that's still pending, but then mostly just rest and find renewal. So I did supply MMP with a sabbatical plan. So in short, 30 days will be devoted to reflecting on what has happened, because we've done a lot in 5 years together, truly. And so kind of taking a pause, reflecting all the changes that have happened, taking 30 days to focus on the present, which means rest and just breathe. And then the 30 days looking to the future, kind of thinking this congregation is going to change in the next 5 years. And we constantly are going to need to continue and transforming and changing, and our processes and our priorities and what we're focused on, and how can we do so, going back to the sermon, grounding ourselves in God, in Jesus, and embrace the uncertainties of not only just the world, but of this congregation itself. So I'm not delusional or in denial about some of the challenges we face, but also there's a lot of opportunity here. And as I keep saying, God is not done with Deer Lake United, and I truly believe that, or else I would leave. And I'm here for a very, very long time. So, so looking for the future. Yeah, Colleen.
Do you have to take classes or like refresher stuff?
Yes, we do. So the question is about refreshers or updating education. So there are professional education requirements as clergy. I definitely meet those with all that I do with learning and stuff like that. But there's no formal you have to do things, but there is a structure within the United Church. It just came out about 2 years ago that is focused around learning objectives and that kind of stuff. So a lot of my work comes to how to envision and how to lead in change in a liminal time. So I think one challenge that we're going to have as a congregation is continued grief as we have an aging congregation, quite frankly, and how are we going to hold that grief and yet also continue to make positive steps for our future. And so that's holding those challenges ahead, right? Yeah, Joanne.
The washroom committee,
Yes.
will they be able to make decisions?
So Joanne is asking about the washroom task force. So the washroom task force has not taken the initiative that I hoped it would have to make plans for the washrooms. There are a few congregation members that are working on the washrooms. Hopefully we see some plans come within time, but it's a slow going process with the washrooms. One thing that I have been asked about is, at the minimum, can we get new toilets, higher toilets for the washrooms in the short term? And so depending on people's availability, we may have to hire people to do that just to get it done quicker than later, or sooner than later. But I have no official news around what the washroom situation looks like. What is a possibility that came up at the council meeting on Friday is we could, in my absence, you all could hold a congregational meeting and vote to approve doing something with the washrooms that wouldn't take an effect until next year. Like, there's nothing that holds us back from voting on it now for 2026, because the summertime with the building the way it is, summer is the ideal time to do renovations to the washrooms, because the downstairs washrooms during the week are devoted strictly to the daycare from 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. So we can't use the downstairs washrooms during the week. Sunday mornings are fine, but not during the week, which affects all of our rentals. So it's a big project, a lot of opportunities. If you're on the task force, the invitation is to be proactive and start emailing each other and start working together. And yes, but ultimately your response is yes, they are empowered to do whatever they want to do and work with. Ellen would be the person most likely to call a congregational meeting. Brian does have that authority too, so Brian can call a congregational meeting, but Ellen, just to spare Brian of that burden, Ellen would take the front on that and call the congregational meeting, and whatever vote needs to happen, vote happens. So, and that would be if it's decided to do renovations that would work outside of our budget. Our yearly budget, our annual budget. That was passed at the ACM. Yeah, Janet.
Just wanted to tell you that 166 years ago this week, the Methodist Church was founded in the colony of BC in Westminster, and it was my great-great-grandfather, Reverend Edward White. So I'm very proud of him having done that. He had a hard time getting it going because the gold rush was on, and there were all a bunch of making being rude to him and everything else, but he made it keep going, and their descendant church was Queens Avenue United, which unfortunately closed last year, mostly closed last year. But I'm very proud of him. So, 166 years ago this week. His family came a little bit, they were over in Victoria, they came towards the end of it. He left a diary of all those weeks, and so I put it into a book that I lent to Reverend and so on, so we're really happy for that. Thank you.
So Janet White, or Janet W., shared that 166 years ago, this week, 1869, 59, the first Methodist Church was formed in New Westminster, and that was her great-great-grandfather, and she called me out, holding me accountable, which I always appreciate, that she lent her the diaries of this grandfather many years ago, or lent me, she did the diaries a year ago, and I still have not returned it to her. So it's still next to my desk, and I read it occasionally, a few pages here and there, but it's fascinating to read the journal entries of a minister 166 years ago who formed the Methodist Church. That's a great segue to bring Ellen up to talk about I'll just go ahead and give the headline version while you're coming. We are celebrating 100 years of the United Church of Canada existing. Now, we know, because we know our church history, that our Deer Lake United Church started in 1920 as a Sunday school class, so we are over 100 years old. But Ellen's going to talk about our denominational's birthday happening in June.
And his son, Reverend John Henry, was on the committee that founded the United Church. Was it 1926?
1925.
1925, yeah. He was on that committee, and he was also a minister at Queens Avenue.
Excellent.
Thank you, Janet. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay. Just sit closer, Jeff. Sit closer. First of all, while Joseph is away, any questions? Gary's telling me to move back now. Any questions, just ask me. I may not know the answer, but I can tell you who to ask. So don't, Joseph made a really poor joke about me not wanting you to ask me anything or want me to know anything, and please ask me while he's away. I'm not as scary as I look, I've been told. The 100th anniversary is coming up for the United Church of Canada, and there are national things going on all over the country. And so each congregation is being asked to do something. And so what I'm looking for is one or two people to help organize something. There are services being streamed on June 1st and June 8th. We could stream them here. Jubilee is streaming them. We could go there as a group and watch there. we could have something simple, just like a cake after worship. Something. It can be as simple or as complicated as we want, but I'd love it if one or two people could let me know that they're willing to figure something out that we could do just to recognize that it's been 100 years for the United Church of Canada. I've got information here, what's happening across the nation, and lots of ideas of what could be done. So, but again, simple is good too. We just want to make sure that we do acknowledge it in some way. The other thing is, Catherine?
What again is the official date for that?
June 8th is, they're doing services the Sunday before June 8th, so June 1st, June 8th, and then there's one in May 25th, is it? Or yeah, the one before that. So there are actually 3 Sundays where there'll be streaming service and stuff, but June 8th, I think, is the official.
The official date is June 10th, 1925, but the Sunday prior to June 10th is June 8th.
Yeah. So please let me know if you're willing to do something. We would love it if a couple of people could help out. Yeah.
Could the WhatsApp header or something have something going on? There's been no change to the communication stuff. Consistently mentioning the anniversary stuff.
Yeah, I think closer to the time and when we.
No, it's infrequently been mentioned throughout the year. It's infrequently been mentioned throughout the year, but Ellen's about to say.
Sorry.
Can't remember.
That going closer to it, it will be.
We'll be promoting it. Once we know what we're doing, we'll be promoting it. And once we know what neighborhood churches are doing, we'll be promoting that as well. So, yeah, it's coming up, though, for sure. The other thing I wanted to bring up is Dana is no longer able to be our regional rep. And there is it the annual general meeting coming up the last weekend of May? And we would love to have a representative there. Joseph will be there. Representatives from all the churches will be there. And if that's something that you think you might like to do, please let me or let Joseph know. We'll be able to give you more information about it. It's in Nanaimo this year. It starts on Thursday night, I believe. And there would be compensation for travel if someone is interested in going. So it's a fun opportunity to speak with people who are kind of leading parallel lives across the province. So give it some thought, and it's the only thing you'll really have to do this year, and report back when you get back what you learned. Okay, thanks. And I guess that's it. Thank you, everybody. If everybody signs up for one thing, we're golden. So if everybody could just think, what's one thing I could do? And put your name down, then the 3 months will fly by, and everything will go really smoothly. Thanks.
So one more thing, just to make sure we're all clear and it's on video. So whenever I leave, there will be a list. Would you like it outside of my office, or would you like it in the resource room? A list of who to contact for what? Where would you all like that information? Resource room is better, I'm being told. So if anyone here, and please watch online, if anyone here has any questions, it will all be posted in the resource room. So you have that information. My hope is to email out most of you, the leadership, who to contact so everyone's clear, but hopefully there'll be no communication gaps in the time off, okay? If there is anything that needs my attention or you want me to make sure I know of, you have 2 weeks to get that to me ASAP. So with that said, let us pray. Quick word. Holy One, we thank you for this beloved church. We thank you for the assurance of the new creed. We are not alone. As we go out this day and we consider what the next few months look like, help us to discern where we might fill in gaps at the church. Help us to step up, to be active, to do what we've done many times before, to make this place a place where we truly explore and express our Christian spirituality. As we go out, help us to look to our neighbors, those alike and those who are different, and help us to be your light to all. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, thanks, friends, and see you next time, which would probably be in the fall. So, I mean, I'll be here next Sunday. I'll be here next Sunday, but the last town hall. This is the last town hall, so I'm not having one of these. Palm Sunday and Easter. I don't think you guys want to stick around after those Sundays. So, enjoy. See you. I'm sorry?